Billing and coding. Let's just start with the basics of the basics. What exactly is billing and what exactly is coding?
The primary difference is coding is translating what the doctor does and making that into a code set that means something to the insurance company. Billing is taking that code set and sending that through a clearinghouse to the insurances or sending it on a paper to the insurance.
When I first got started in this field, I thought that it was kind of like, okay, we got our biller, they're doing their thing, we're doing our thing. But what I've come to realize is the continual communication is so important. You are present.
Having a good relationship with your biller is the most important thing because your practice constantly changes. I personally have been billing for 20 years. My wife also been billing for 14 years. It's really that experience and that broad knowledge that you have issues coming in from multiple angles sometimes will give us a different vantage point of how to fix it. No one person can know all of this. That's where we come in.
Welcome to DermBiz. I am excited to introduce our guest today. Today we're going to be talking with Matt Bero. He is the owner of UP Medical Management. They've been in business over 33 years, and they've helped their clients obtain over $400 million in collections. If you're starting your own private practice or already own your own private practice, you want to learn more about billing, how you can get more money for the work that you're doing for your private practice, you are in for a treat today. And so I am happy to talk to Matt today. Matt, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you.
Matt, I've been thinking about this interview for a while. I'm excited for us to talk. In the medical practice, so many people talk about what services you should provide, staffing, all of these different things. But what we didn't realize when we got started was the important role that an excellent billing and coding company plays. We have had the fortune of working with you guys since we started our private practice. You guys have been phenomenal in the billing and coding area. And so I'm excited to get your thoughts, to get your tips, your tricks, any information that you can share with us and share with our viewers to help their practice be as profitable and as financially stable as possible. So welcome to the show. So let's get right into it, Matt. Let's get right into it. I have a few questions for you. The first question I have for you is billing and coding. Let's just start with the basics of the basics because that word is thrown around interchangeably. Can you explain to a layperson what exactly is billing and what exactly is coding?
Okay. The primary difference is coding is translating what the doctor does and making that into a code set that means something to the insurance company. So it's more if you've done a visit, this is the code that says what visit you did, and you give a diagnosis code that says this is what the patient was seen for. Billing is what happens next. Billing is taking that code set and sending that through a clearinghouse to the insurances or sending it on a paper to the insurance.
Okay. Who is normally responsible for the coding aspect of that process?
That actually works different ways with different people. It could start with the doctor. That's where a lot of it comes, is the doctors are providing the coding themselves. If you have an EMR that helps you selecting the codes based off what you're doing. Otherwise, some clients or some people, it will be a coder that will be doing the coding itself, where the provider does a progress note and a coder will review it and generate the codes from there. So it could go either way, just whichever way makes the most sense for an individual practice. I just wanted to add, I think that either way, it's generally good to have a coder reviewing any codes that are assigned by the provider to make sure that they match up to what's been picked. Having the expert reviewing it and just making sure it all matches.
Absolutely. So so let's dive into that a little bit more. What are the most expensive billing mistakes that you've seen dermatology, or I mean, it doesn't have to be dermatology, but what are because I know that you work with a lot of different medical specialties.
Mhm.
But what are the primary expensive billing mistakes, the things that are costing private practices money? What are some of these common mistakes that we're making?
Very common mistakes are not using the right modifiers. Um, I'd say the biggest one is not putting in an appeal on a claim when it gets denied by an insurance. Um, Far too often, we'll see practices that will have a denial from an insurance, and they'll just do the write-off without following up, correcting the claim, or putting in an appeal. Besides that, I would say most of the time it's going to be modifiers and diagnoses.
So that's just like incorrect modifiers or incorrect diagnosis.
Yep. If you have a modifier that if you're missing a modifier that you need, it'll often have a line deny.
Mm,
Uh, so if you don't have modifiers that you need on the claim, that usually will just completely deny the specific line.
okay. And I mean, and I'm thinking now, like $400 million in collections that you've gotten for your clients over these years since your company in business. That's a lot. So you've probably seen everything, right? I'm putting you on the spot with this question here, but I wanted you to give your best estimate. But what would you say, because of things like that or other things, could you give a ballpark figure on what you think potentially um, uh, practices, the amount of money that practices are leaving on the table because on an annual basis because they're not doing the modifiers right, because they're not doing some of these things correctly?
Um, I I could give you an estimate that for practices that we've come into and taken over the billing for, I'd say as much as 10% sometimes.
Wow. 10% of what they collect in revenue, they could have got 10% more.
Correct.
So you're talking that that's a, just on a conservative basis, $1 million a year revenue practice, which is a small practice. You're talking about 100 grand that could
Yeah.
potentially be left on the table.
Yes. Generally, when we have come into a practice that's established, we've been able to uh, essentially increase revenue enough to pay for our services.
Wow. Wow. And okay. And so that leads me to my next question. Can you walk me through like a real example of one of those situations that you just mentioned where I mean, and obviously I know you have, you know, information that you can't share, you can't
Yeah.
name practices and all of
Confidentiality.
that.
Yeah.
Confidential. I understand all of that, but can you walk me through an example of like a new account that you got, and then some different changes that you made when you started working with them, and how it helped increase their overall collections?
So yeah, it's actually relatively recent. We took on a client that had someone retire, who their biller retire, and so we took them on, and for them, we were able to raise their average monthly collection by over $8,000,
Wow.
and it's a single doctor practice. Um,
Wow.
Primarily for them, it was mostly tracking what has been paid and what hasn't been paid. There are times where um, a check was sent to the doctor or got lost in the mail, and being able to reach out to the insurance and have them reissue it. Um, but really, the big one was working those rejections and denials.
Mm.
Because way too often they come in when we come into a practice like that, there is a denial, and it just gets written off. And all it needs is a modifier, or all it needs is a payable diagnosis. It just needs a little bit of work and resubmitting a corrected claim, and you can pick up $20 here, $50 there, or bigger ones where it's a couple $100 on a procedure that was written off. When all it is just fine tuning the claim and resubmitting it.
I mean, that's literally like found money. That was money they earned that was sitting, it was waiting to be collected.
Their practice did not change from the perspective of how many patients they were seeing and how many days they were working. It just was picking up the money that they were leaving on the table.
Wow, that is awesome. Okay, I'm glad you shared that. Okay, so I'm going to kind of play devil's advocate, right? I'm a member of, my wife and I are a member of the Derm Facebook startup group. And there are lots of conversations in there about everything running a private practice, do's and don'ts. There's a huge conversation going on about in-house billing versus outsourced billing and the pros and cons of each. What is your, and obviously, I mean, people are going to say you're coming at this from a biased perspective as an outsourced biller. But I guess, as opposed to asking like, is one right, is one wrong? I guess the question I have for you is, what are the pros and cons of the in-house, outsourced model for billing? We know the billing has to be done. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the big benefit for outsourced is the years of experience. Generally, you have a larger team of people. Internally, we'll tell each other, we talk about how one person can know all of this. There's just so much to know, so many things. And I personally have been billing for 20 years. My wife works with me. She's also been billing for over 15 years. We have an employee that's been with us from the very beginning, she's 33 years.
Wow.
And my mother, who started the business, billing for 33 years.
Yeah.
She's retired now. She still has, she's still available for the information if we need it.
Yeah.
But it's really that experience and that broad knowledge that you have. It's also really helpful to see what's happening in multiple practices, because then it's not just you, or if it is just affecting you. So being able to see those issues coming in from multiple angles sometimes will give us a different vantage point of how to fix it. So number one is the experience and having multiple people on the team.
It's kind of nerve-wracking to me is, what if you hire an in-house biller and then they quit?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, what do you, like, how do you hurry up and find somebody new that literally could shut down the whole billing process until you interview a bunch of people and then go find somebody else and hope they can pick up where this last person left off and whatever the gap is. So that's one thing that's been kind of, that I always have kind of had concerns about. Have you seen that situation play out in practices before?
We have, actually. That's where a lot of times where we come in. What happens often is that somebody will retire and, they will even give 30-day notice or 60-day notice.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard to find billers.
Yeah.
Individual in-house billers are often hard to find. So when somebody is retiring, we'll end up getting a call from a practice who's interested in seeing what we can do for them.
I got another question for you. In regards to, I want this to be the kind of content that a person who maybe they may already even have a biller and they can use the information in this video to just, I don't want to say vet their biller, but to make sure that things are kind of on track. I know you and I kind of have a consistent process of meeting on a monthly basis and going over things. And by the way, that's one thing that I appreciate about working with you and your company, Matt, is that I can get you on the phone if I have a conversation. You respond to emails. You are present. And I feel like every time that I talk to you, you are like my billing and coding coach. Like you teach me something. You're like, okay, no, hey Tony, but it goes like this, and this is what you need to be working on. Um, if I were a person, if somebody was watching this video who, let's say, they don't have a biller and they're considering different billing options. What are some hardcore things they need to know when they're interviewing or looking at other people? What would be some suggestions, like questions that they should ask, things that they should check to make sure that this person is up to the task of handling their billing and doing it in the best possible way? Can you give me some of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you can look into associations that people are a part of, their certifications, especially if you're looking for somebody who's going to be doing anything that's coding related. There's different coding certifications that you can get. We do have a certified coder on staff. I think that is one of the key ones to look for if coding is part of the process that they're going to be working on. Other than that, you just need to know the years of experience they have. Have they experience in billing the various insurance companies? For some practices or some billing companies will actually separate out billing by different insurances. So somebody only bills Medicare. Any claims that have to go to Medicare will go to that person. And some will only bill commercial or only bill Medicaid. So if you're going to have somebody who's in-house specifically, it would be making sure that they're familiar with all of the insurances or how it differs between insurances.
Well, let me follow up with that, man. Are there any red flags? Like if you're searching for a biller and you're in conversation with them or somebody, LinkedIn is where they reach out to you. Trust me.
Yeah.
My LinkedIn inbox is full of people who want to do our billing. And quite frankly, from our perspective, the reason why we started working with you all, it came from a referral.
Yeah.
Right. It came from somebody who already had worked with you before or familiar with your work. And they said, hey, here's the people that you want. So it was that connection that caused us to feel confident. But what would you say are some red flags for people who are looking for billers?
I think I'm going to go right off of what you said. I think a red flag would be if they don't have a referral, if they don't have somebody you can check with and talk to. The best way to know how well they're doing is to talk to the previous ones they've worked for.
Okay. So you're saying vet them by looking at their satisfied customers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Not their well-crafted email that they send you on LinkedIn or your email inbox or anything like that.
Honestly, that's the same way my inbox and my LinkedIn looks like. Somebody who's like, hey, do you want to outsource your revenue cycle to us?
So, yeah, that makes you feel good to know that they're bugging you too. Let's get a little bit more granular, Matt.
Okay.
Let's talk about clean claim rates.
Mm-hmm.
So now we've kind of talked about a person who is, considering a different billing coding company. Should I go with them? Should I not go with them? But let's talk about somebody who already has something and to verify to see that they're doing as good a job as they should be.
Yeah. What kind of benchmarks are you looking at?
Yeah. What is a realistic clean claim rate for a well-run dermatology practice? Now we want to get specific to derm.
Okay. I think 95% clean claims is a realistic benchmark. I think 97% is a good goal.
Okay. And so let's say, for example, a person, and obviously this is something that fluctuates, right? It goes up, it goes down. I know working with you, our clean claim rate has typically always been at that 95 or higher. And then if it ever drops, you're going to have a meeting, we have a conversation. We tweak some things, we figure it out, and then boom, it gets back up there. My question to you is what if a person is not at that 97, 95%, let's say they're consistently at 85% or 80%, what suggestion would you have for that dermatology owner? What should they do? What kind of, when they're meeting with that, what kind of conversation should they have with their billing encoder?
You should be looking at what rejections you're getting, what denials you're getting from the insurance, and seeing what's causing them. You should be able to get from any practice management system or clearinghouse a report on how many denials and how many rejections you're getting and what kind. And from there, you should be able to identify which ones are your trouble spots, and you can adjust from there.
Absolutely. And this will be something that I will add to that just from my experience with working with you. I think it's also a red flag when you're talking to somebody about these kind of problems and their answer is just like, it is what it is, right? The thing that I love about the conversation that you and I have, it's like, oh, okay, here's what we can do, Tony. This is how we can impact this. You have a very proactive approach to the billing, to the rejection and denial process. It's not just like, oh, we're getting screwed and this is just what you have to deal with. But it's like, okay, yeah, Medicare Advantage plans may be trying to screw you or whatever, but here's how you have to. As a matter of fact, let's dive into that. I'm thinking of a conversation you and I had about Medicare Advantage and how they deny when you do a procedure in addition to the office visit. Can you explain that?
Yes.
Can you re-explain that to again?
So with a lot of the Medicare Advantage plans, we see the edits that the insurance has in place. If you bill a procedure with a visit, even when you have the proper modifier on the visit, they will deny it, especially if it has the same diagnosis as the procedure. Essentially, it's saying that the visit can't be done in the global period of the procedure, even though it's being done on the same day. So that's the denial that's coming through. And then those are the ones that you have to appeal. You can try and do a corrected claim and try and send it in with another diagnosis code. Oftentimes, you're just going to have to do the appeal to the insurance company with the rationale of why they should pay the visit.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because I remember having so many conversations with you, like these dang on Medicare Advantage plans, and you and I went through the whole process. I made a video about this, but to the viewers out there, I definitely stressed Matt out because we cut out a bunch of insurances, removed ourselves from insurance networks because of some of these problems, and then we just eventually found out that it's just better just to figure out how to beat them at their own game as opposed to taking my ball and going home, which was my first, like, forget this. I'm not playing this game. I'm done with Medicare Advantage. We're not dealing with it. But the patients suffered in a huge way. And, we found that wasn't the best approach. Now that we're back into accepting all insurances, I think that we found a better middle ground than what we were dealing with before. Support for the DermBiz show comes from EasyDerm. If you're a dermatologist or part of a dermatology practice, you know how critical it is to have tools that make your workflow seamless. EasyDerm is revolutionizing dermatology with its intuitive EHR solutions, designed specifically to simplify your practice operations and give you more time to focus on patient care. Their system isn't just easy to use, it's built with dermatologists in mind, making it the perfect choice for practices looking to streamline and grow. Want to learn more? Head over to easyderm.com to see how they can help you elevate your practice to the next level. And here's a little insider tip. Tell them the DermBiz show sent you. Also, before we jump back in, here's a quick reminder to make sure you're connected with us on all of our other social media platforms. We share other content on those platforms that's going to help you grow and build your private practice. We believe that we need more doctors in leadership positions in private practice ownership, and we believe that our content is going to help you get to where you need to go. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on all those platforms. All right, thanks for listening, and another big shout out to EasyDerm. Now let's get back to the show. So talk to me. I mean, you talked about rejected claims and denied claims.
Mhm.
Um, has there been any recent changes that us in the derm world should be aware of in regards to reduction in reimbursements? Because these are not claims that are getting rejected or denied, but these are claims getting paid out at a lower rate. We always hear this conversation that every year Medicare and these different people are cutting rates. Is there any new news? Here we are at the beginning of 2026.
Right.
Any new news that we as practice owners or people who are soon to be practice owners need to be aware of as far as changes in reimbursement rates?
Yeah, the one to actually really be on the watch out for that we discussed it previously, but right now some insurances are down coding your visits.
Mm.
Not they aren't not are It's a national thing where right now some insurance companies are down coding providers visits. So if you bill a level 4 visit, they will automatically pay you at a level 3 rate.
Mm.
So the way to combat that is to track your payment against your contracts with those insurances to make sure that what they're paying you is what they should be paying you for that level. If you're seeing those level 4 visits getting paid at a level 3 rate, then you're going to have to fight to have them pay you at the proper rate by sending in the documentation and proving that it is in fact a level 4.
Mm. And
And the
quite
sneaky part
frankly,
of that is you're not going to necessarily catch it.
that's what I was about to say. That's what I was about to say. Quite frankly, how would you even know unless? And this is I think where it comes in. It's so important to have a great relationship with your biller, because how would you even know that you were getting paid at a level 3 when you should be getting paid at a level 4 if you're treating patients all day? You can't tell what the reimbursement should have been.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that relationship, having a good relationship with your biller, is probably the most important thing, um, because your practice constantly changes, and
Absolutely.
that's the royal you. Your practice constantly changes, um, so you need to be able to adjust to the changes in the industry, new edits that the insurances put out there, and just watch to see if there are any changes. Sometimes things run smoothly, but then they'll throw you a curveball.
Absolutely. And I think you just made a good point. There's always changes, whether there's changes inside your practice with your patients, changes from a macro level with insurance reimbursements. I know that we just found out that they are now reducing the reimbursements for the skin substitutes as of January 1st, and I think it's like a 90% reduction,
Ooh.
almost up to a 90%, reduction in the reimbursement. So again, things always changing. I mean, one thing that I would add, I would love to get your thoughts on this, but I think that billing. When I first got started in this field, I thought that it was kind of like a set it and forget it thing. Like, okay, we got our biller in place now. They're doing their thing over there. We're doing our thing over here, and our job is just to see more patients and whatever. But what I've come to realize is the continual communication is so important, because there's so many times that you need to adjust things or to plug a hole in the link. Like, it's been times that you and I've had conversations. You're like, "Hey, Tony, you guys need to do a better job of collecting the copays. I can see here that we could step up in that area, or you guys gave me the idea and set me in the process of making sure I'm doing collection calls
Mhm.
on a monthly basis. So as opposed to just sending people to collections where you don't get all of the money that you should have got, you could call people and work things out and have them pay you directly. But it was the first few years, it was a while before I actually started making those calls. And so just the continual communication of like, hey, you may want to do a little bit more of this, or are you thinking about that? Or one thing you noticed that we had went through a string where we were putting in the card numbers, but maybe we mixed the number around. And now that caused the claim to get rejected, and now it's taking longer to get paid, and now that's affecting our days outstanding and all of these. So all of
Mhm.
these little small things I think it's almost impossible for us if you would have just told me everything at one time. Like, Tony, you need to
Yeah.
do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But the fact that it's like, okay, I'm getting a monthly checkup, and it's like, oh, hey, Tony, don't forget about this piece. And it's like, oh, yeah, I forgot. I need to make sure that we now go back and retrain the admin staff on the importance of putting in the numbers correctly. I need to make sure that our prior authorization process is like we're actually making sure we're verifying every insurance before they come in. And so, just kind of reiterating the value of having I look
A
at you
strong
guys
partnership.
a strong partnership. Like I look at you guys like
Mhm.
a part of our practice. You guys are just the billing arm, and that communication has been very valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the way we see it too. We always see ourselves as a part of the practice and a representative of, when we have patients call for questions, it's, you know, it, there are patients too, kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Um, so yeah, I think having a strong partnership is crucial to, we can do a set it and forget it, and just try and do it, without any of that feedback, but it's so much harder
Yeah.
having a practice who's responsive and, gets the proper information while the patient is there in front of them. It's you can't say enough about how important getting all of that demographic information is.
Absolutely. And something that changed that we made that came from a conference, it's like every time you and I meet, I would say every time, I would say about 50% of the time though, it leads me down the path of like making an adjustment. Like we need to have one of our staff start to pick up a different task, or how our check-in process changes. One of those was after one of our conversations, we assigned a member of our virtual team to verify all of the insurances and then go through like the day before to verify all of the insurances and then to go through and put a notation on the accounts like insurance wasn't or whatever. Like, so now the next day, we're not going in blind wondering, does this person have a verified insurance? We know that everybody on the schedule insurance is verified and is active. That came from one of you and I's conversations.
Mhm.
So oftentimes there's actionable steps after
Yeah.
the conversation, like, okay, now that I talked to Matt, we need to do this. And also, too,
Yeah.
it's good to have you because I don't have to be the bad guy. I can go to the team and say, hey guys, this is what Matt said. Matt said that we are sucking when it comes to I won't say that, but I can put it on you. Like Matt says, we're not doing this right and we're not doing this right. And so I don't have to be the bad guy. They never see you, so if they're mad at you, it's not a big deal.
Absolutely. I don't mind that at all.
I got another
I did want
Facebook.
to,
Oh, go
Matt
ahead.
and I did want to say on those lines for, changes and demographics, and since we're all on those and you want to takeaway for this one is we just changed January 1st. So many patients are going to have new insurances. It is so important
Mm,
right now to be extra vigilant on those changes.
that's a great point. So, tip for anybody watching this, and you're watching this at the beginning of the year, just be mindful of your patients. Many of them, especially if they're older, have switched over. They've switched over to Medicare. They've switched over to Medicare Advantage, or they've switched over from Medicare to Medicare Advantage. They've switched over from commercial to Medicare, or whatever the case may be. So, yeah, great point. Um, Something I want to bring up too. This is another one of our conversations that you and I have had. Again, an ongoing conversation on the Facebook Derm Startup Group. This concept of negotiating contracts with insurance payers. So there's a a whole conversation going on out there. Like, hey, insurance isn't reimbursing you enough. That's because you're not renegotiating with the insurance carriers. All you got to do is call them up and negotiate, and they'll pay you at a higher rate. What say you, Matt? Because I hear all of these conversations that
That
people are talking about.
that is incredibly regional. It really depends on where you are and what your contracts are with the insurances that you have. One of the insurances that you have a contract with, for example, is rents out their network. So by renting out their network, they've already negotiated the rates for the insurances that are going to use their network. So you don't need to negotiate a rate with one of those downstream insurances because the upstream insurance already has. So that works for you. For somebody else who is individually negotiating rates with those specific insurances, and they pick 10 insurances that they see and they negotiate those rates with those 10 insurances, yeah, you can absolutely do that. And it's absolutely going to depend on your negotiating power, on how many other dermatologists are in the area and how many patients are you coming in with, you know, and how many providers do you have. So
I got another question. This has never happened to us before, but I've heard conversations about this. So I'm going to ask you the question. What are the red flags or audit triggers that could put dermatology practices at risk for OIG investigation or payer audits? What should dermatology practices be making sure they're not doing? They don't want to, so they don't get audited. So there's no triggers for OIG investigation.
that's something that's going to differ by year. The OIG actually puts out a list of what they're looking at. So
Okay.
you go to the OIG specifically and see what are the things that they're looking at right now. So the answer for 2026 is not going to be the same as 25, and so on. But right now, I would be less concerned about the audit and more concerned about the results. If you get audited, it doesn't matter if your documentation supports it. So always just make sure your documentation supports what you're billing. And even if you do trigger an audit, you can support it, and there shouldn't be any fallout.
Absolutely. Now, to follow up on the documentation piece, do you work with people who still do paper charts, who still do paper with everything?
Oh, no.
Do you have any more?
We
Okay.
have, I think our last holdout, I think I told you, we've had people some clients for over 30 years. I think our
Yeah.
last holdout switched over to electronic 3 years ago.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, they still do have paper charts in the office to go back to, but all the new stuff is
Yeah.
there, and I think they scanned in and put things in. So
As a billing and coding company, do you care? Is it make your job easier if it's all electronic? Is it? What are your thoughts on electronic paper?
electronic is much easier. We're able to send things back and forth and able to see it when it's digital, when it's the EMR is accessible, being able to send messages immediately of can you clarify this, this may need an addendum. Things like that are so much simpler, and we're able to process claims as soon as they're signed off on. And especially if it's something where you're using an EMR where the provider is selecting the codes ahead of time or at the time of signing off, then being able to review the codes and being able to click a link and see the note right there.
Yeah.
It's definitely become a lot more efficient when you have moved away from paper charts.
Absolutely. Okay. And now I'm on the back half of my questions. I got a few more before we wrap up. But I really want to give viewers of this like actionable items, things that they could like take from this video and either apply to their current private practice or their future practice. And so If you could give dermatology practice owners just maybe 3 action items to improve their revenue cycle immediately, like just 3 things, like if they did these 3 things, they would probably see an immediate impact on their revenue cycle. What would those 3 things be?
I would start with registration and what you're doing with verifying the insurance on every patient before they come in. If you can do it electronically through the system, or if you can do it, manually, there are verification websites for individual insurances. There are websites that do it for uh, large groups of insurances, and pretty much every card will have the phone number for calling eligibility on the back of the card. So if you
Okay.
verify a new patient's insurance until they get there with the card, and make the call before they go in to see the patient, or before they go see the doctor. Um, the other one that I highly recommend sticking right here with those is taking the pictures of the cards, making sure that you have that card front and back documented and in the chart. That can be absolutely huge.
So why is that important, Matt? Why is the card picture important?
In case there's user error entering in the member ID, we want to make sure that we can go look at that picture. Uh, a lot of times, the information on the back of the card is even more important to the biller.
Mm.
So the back of the card tells us where to send the claim, whether that's a
Mm.
physical paper claim, or the electronic routing number, essentially, of where to
Mm.
send the claim. Uh, so that back of the card, it might say First Health, or just picking a random insurance, but it might
Mm.
say this random insurance on the front of the card. But when you go to the back of the card, it tells you it's administrated by a different insurance. So you need to be able to verify on the card where it's telling us to send it to.
Mm.
Um, so 90% of the time, it's going to be easy if they come in with a card that says the insurance's name. That's where you're going to send it. Every now and
Okay.
then, you get one that comes in. It's like it says it's administered by this network, and you need to send it to someone else entirely. Um, so that's the biggest reason for me as the biller of being wanting to see the card. On
Yeah.
top, I think that's even more important than if there's a typo when setting up the account.
Yeah.
That's nice, but knowing exactly what the card says, here's where you send it, is key. It's crucial.
Absolutely.
The third one would be to work with your biller to see which rejections and denials are your most common, and what adjustments you can make to reduce that specific denial or rejection.
Okay. So just to recap, number one, make sure that you're doing insurance verification on everybody that comes in.
Every
Number
patient,
two,
before they see the provider, you should
before
know.
they see the provider. Yes. So insurance verification before they see the provider. Number two, front and back pictures of insurance, and the back may be even more important than the front. It's not that you just need the name, the numbers on the car, but where is it getting billed to? Who's actually processing the claim?
Yes.
And number three, work hand in hand with your biller to address denied and rejected claims. What would be the ideal frequency of connecting with your biller to ensure that that's on track, the denied and the rejected?
I think the ideal frequency is unique to each practice and where
Mm.
you are. I think that, a monthly check-in is great. A quarterly would work if you're running really smoothly. I think a
Hmm.
quarterly check-in would work. Other than
Hmm.
that, absolutely, I think that it would be beneficial to talk monthly, at least to check in and look at those numbers and keep track of those benchmarks and see what changes, if anything. If it starts to get stale, then everything must be running smoothly, hopefully, and you can go to quarterly.
Okay. And so, and you said, and running smoothly would be them meeting those clean claim rates that you talked about. Like if you're at 95% plus on clean claim rate, then maybe you only need quarterly or monthly at the soonest.
Yeah, if things are well, if you have 95% or more clean claims, if you're consistently getting the same collections percentage, then yeah, monthly is great. I would stretch it at most out to quarterly. If things are not hitting those marks, if you are somebody who has an 80% or an 85% clean collection rate, you may want to do it every couple of weeks.
Mm.
The thing to remember with billing is it can be a very slow process. You will not see a change in less than 2 weeks because
Mm.
the time to get a response from the insurance at best would be 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And most are going to be beyond that. So I think at most you would meet every couple of weeks when things are bad. At minimum, I think you could meet quarterly just to check in and make sure there aren't any changes that need to be addressed.
Absolutely. Okay. And so my last question, Matt, and this is I want you to kind of I want you to put on your consulting hat here for a second. I'm going to try to treat you like a magic genie, right? Like
Well, I
you've
got
seen a.
the
That was not a ball joke, Matt. I promise you, that was not a ball joke. But I mean, 33 years your company has been running. You've been doing billing personally for 20 years. $400 million in collections for your clients. You've seen a lot. And so because you've been in the industry so long, I'm going to ask you to look to the future.
Mhm.
And so what do you see? What do you think is potentially coming down the pipe from an insurance reimbursement standpoint, from all of that? What do you think is potentially coming down the pipe that we as private practice owners need to be aware of and need to be planning for and at least considering in our operations of our clinics?
Absolutely. I think two big things to be aware of that are probably coming. One is
Mm.
we know the government is looking at moving more Medicare patients to Medicare Advantage programs, so Medicare Part
Mm.
C. That's been something that they've been talking about for a while. We know that's something that they want to do,
Mm.
want to actually have it so it's automated so that as soon as somebody gets into retirement age or gets to Medicare eligibility age, that they will automatically be enrolled in Medicare Advantage and they would have to opt out to be in the original Medicare.
Wow. So wait a minute. Wait a minute. Because my understanding,
That
it's the opposite right now. They
it is.
automatically start in Medicare and then they have to opt out to
Mhm.
go to Medicare Advantage. You're saying they're trying to flip that.
Yes, that is what the government's been talking about, is that they want to flip that and take the most common Medicare Advantage program in that patient's region and automatically enroll the patient in the Medicare Advantage.
Mm.
That's kind of where they've been pointing to. It's not happened yet, but it is something to keep track of and something to watch from a political legal standpoint. But either way, Medicare Advantage is becoming a larger portion of Medicare patients. And just working with Medicare Advantage and being prepared to see more Medicare Advantage over regular Medicare.
I have some ideas on what that means, but can you parse that out and break it down? What does that mean for a person who owns a private practice? What's going to change for them?
Mhm.
What do they need to be aware of? How do they make adjustment because of this?
That actually leads me into my second one. um, the second one is the edits that the insurances have in place for denials are becoming stricter in a lot of insurances. And Medicare Advantage, compared to Medicare, is absolutely one of those. The necessity to get prior authorizations is a lot higher with Medicare Advantage than it is with Medicare. So there's a lot more administrative work dealing with the Medicare Advantage program than an original Medicare program. Getting your prior auths on those patients, and potentially having to deal with those denials because the edits that the Advantage plan has that the original Medicare does not have.
So from a reimbursement standpoint, Medicare and Medicare Advantage reimburse the same.
Yes.
But Medicare Advantage is going to make it a little bit more difficult to actually get paid. So it's going to potentially increase our administrative costs to actually get the same amount that we would have got a lot easier from Medicare.
Yes. Essentially, if I'm going to be completely strict on it, they allow the same amount. They don't pay the same amount. Medicare will usually, when it comes to a procedure or something, they will pay 80%, and then the remaining 20% will go to the patient or to the patient's secondary.
Yeah.
Medicare Advantage will allow the same amount, but they will usually pay more and have less, if anything, due from the patient. So yeah, you have a little bit less risk from actually collecting it if it's approved from the Medicare Advantage plan, but you have more risk of it being denied.
Matt, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. I know that you're traveling right now, and so thank you for taking the time to chat with us for a little bit. We appreciate all the great work that you do for us, and we appreciate you being willing to share your knowledge and share your expertise for our viewers. And so thanks a lot, brother.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's a wrap for this episode of the DermBiz Show. We hope you found today's discussion insightful and packed with value to help you navigate the challenges of running your private practice. We'd love to hear from you. Is there a specific topic you'd like us to cover or a question you want answered? Reach out to us at thedermbiz@gmail.com or drop us a message on social media. Your input helps us tailor the show to what matters most to you and your practice. Speaking of social media, don't forget to follow us on all of our platforms for updates, bonus content, and tips to keep your practice running smoothly. And of course, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. Thanks for tuning in today, and we can't wait to have you join us again the next time. Until then, take care, keep thriving, and we'll see you the next time on the DermBiz Show.